I'll never forget the moment my mother opened my bedroom door and found me standing there in her red dress. Not just holding it, not just looking at it, wearing it. Makeup clumsily brushed across my face, my hands shaking, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure she could hear it. For a second we just stared at each other. And in that moment, my entire secret life collapsed. My name is Daniel. I'm 24 years old. At least, that's the name most people know me by. But this story isn't really about Daniel. It's about a side of me I hid for almost 15 years. The first time I remember feeling curious about cross-dressing, I was maybe 9 years old. My mom had left a box of old clothes in the laundry room. Scarves, heels, dresses she never wore anymore. I don't know why I did it. Maybe curiosity. Maybe something deeper. I remember slipping on a soft purple scarf and looking in the mirror, and feeling something I couldn't explain. Not embarrassment. Not exactly happiness either. More like recognition. Like I was seeing a different version of myself. But I grew up in a house where that kind of thing wasn't talked about. So I pushed it down. Years went by. College. Friends. On the outside I looked like any other guy. Inside though, that curiosity never disappeared. Just waited. And one night, it finally refused to stay hidden. It started on a quiet Friday night. My parents were out visiting relatives and I had the entire house to myself. You ever have one of those moments where a thought pops into your head, and you know you probably shouldn't follow it, but you do anyway? That was me. I walked past my mom's closet 3 times before finally stopping. My heart was racing. I kept thinking, this is ridiculous, Daniel. Just go watch Netflix. But another voice inside whispered, what if this is the moment you finally stop pretending? So I opened the closet. Fully. Inside were dresses, jackets, shoes. All perfectly arranged. I reached out and touched a dark red dress hanging near the front. The fabric felt smooth and cool under my fingers. I remember whispering to myself, what am I doing? But I already knew. 5 minutes later I was standing in my room with that dress draped over my arms. Part of me felt terrified. Another part felt excited. Like I was about to step into a version of myself that had been waiting for years. But I had no idea what I was getting myself into. If you've ever felt that kind of inner tug-of-war, drop a comment, because trust me, you're not alone. Putting the dress on was awkward. First of all, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I struggled with the zipper for almost 2 minutes. At one point I thought I had actually gotten stuck inside it. Yeah, imagine explaining that to someone. Eventually though it fit. Not perfectly, but enough. I walked over to the mirror and just stared. Something about the moment felt surreal. But the transformation wasn't finished. Because on my mom's dresser sat a small makeup bag. Now listen, I had never used makeup in my life. I opened the bag and pulled out what I thought was lipstick. Turned out, it was eyeliner. I ended up with a thick black line across my cheek before I realized my mistake. I laughed out loud. Seriously, I looked like a raccoon that had lost a fight. But somehow that made the moment less scary. So I tried again. Lipstick this time. A little foundation. Still messy. Still clumsy. But every step felt like unlocking something inside me. Then came the real challenge. Heels. If you have ever tried walking in heels for the first time, you already know. I took one step. Then another. And immediately grabbed the wall to stop myself from falling. I must have looked ridiculous. But after a few tries, something surprising happened. I started to relax. And that's when something happened that changed everything. I finally looked at myself in the mirror. Not just a quick glance. Real look. The dress hugged my body. The makeup, okay, still questionable, but it created a different face than the one I saw every day. For the first time I saw a reflection that felt honest. And I wasn't expecting the emotion that hit me. Tears. Actual tears. Because suddenly all those years of hiding, pretending, questioning, they rushed into that one moment. I whispered to myself, is this really me? And the answer inside my chest was loud and clear. Yes. I tried walking again. Slower this time. The dress swayed slightly as I moved. And every step built a little more confidence. I even practiced talking differently just to see how it felt. At one point I actually curtsied at my own reflection. Yeah. That happened. But then reality crept back in. My parents would be home soon. And suddenly the fear returned. What if someone saw me? What if my mom found out? What if everything changed? Thought I was ready. I wasn't. Have you ever discovered a side of yourself that scared you and excited you at the same time? Me no. I was about to change back when I heard something. A car door outside. My stomach dropped. My parents weren't supposed to be home for another hour. Panic hit instantly. I tried rushing to unzip the dress, but the zipper jammed. Of course it did. I tugged harder. Nothing. Footsteps approached the front door. My brain was screaming, move, move. Then the bedroom door opened. And there was my mom. Standing in the doorway. She looked at me. At the dress. At the heels. At the messy makeup. For a full 5 seconds. Nobody said a word. Then she did something I never expected. He started laughing. Not cruelly. Not mockingly. Just genuine surprise. Finally she said, Daniel, is that my dress? I felt my face burn with embarrassment. I can explain. She stepped into the room and looked at me carefully. And then she said something that shocked me to my core. You know, she said softly, you actually walk in heels better than I did the first time. I blinked. Wait, what? She wasn't angry. She wasn't yelling. Instead she sat down on the bed and said, come here. My hands were shaking as I walked toward her. And then she said the words I never expected to hear. Why didn't you tell me sooner? That night turned into one of the most important conversations of my life. My mom told me she had actually suspected something for years. Little things. How I looked at clothes in store windows. How I asked random questions about makeup once when I was younger. She wasn't judging me. She just wanted me to feel safe. At one point she even helped fix my crooked eyeliner. Yeah, talk about a surreal moment. But the biggest lesson came later that night when I finally took the dress off. I realized something. Crossdressing wasn't just about clothes. It was about identity. About freedom. About allowing yourself to explore who you really are without shame. For years I believed I had to hide that part of myself. But that night proved something powerful. Sometimes the fear in our heads is bigger than reality. Now I'm still on this journey. Still figuring out where I fit. But I'm no longer hiding. And if you're listening to this right now while secretly wondering if you're allowed to be your authentic self, let me tell you something I wish I understood years ago. You deserve to explore who you are. You deserve acceptance. You deserve confidence. And most importantly, you deserve the freedom to live your truth. If you've ever struggled with identity or self-acceptance, drop a comment and share your story. Someone out there needs to hear it. And if you want to hear what happened next on my journey, let me know if you want part 2. Because trust me, the story didn't end that night. But I'll leave you with this. If you're hiding who you really are, remember this.